Colour theory. In essence, colour theory relates to how colours will interact or harmonise with each other. It will help you to create contrast or cohesion within a certain project for any artist or designer. And today I'm going to show you what it is, how to use it, and give you a demonstration of what happens when it's used well. Hello my friends, Rob here from Button Press Graphics, back with another video, and today's subject is colour theory. Colour theory is something that is very interesting to me, and I use it intuitively every single time I put pen to paper or I start clicking in Inkscape. Today I'm going to be showing you what it is, the principles behind it, and the basics of how you can use it yourself with a demonstration. So without further ado, let's get started. Now in general, colour theory is something that takes form in all of the biggest brands all around the planet. Brands are instantly recognisable nowadays. From massive brands that we use every single day to the smallest of brands that are trying to break through. So I'm going to give you 3 little tricky questions and see if you can answer them. Because what I am going to give you now is an example of colour theory done well with some major brands. If I was to give you this clue, it is a brand for a drinks company which is red and white. Which one would you be thinking of? Of course, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is instantly recognisable at a glance by being red background and the typography of the white lettering. Here's the second one, and this one is for all my American friends out there. Even though I know the company is worldwide, this is mainly for my American friends. If I was to say, think of a delivery service which has yellow and brown contrasting colours in their logo, who would you be thinking of? If you said UPS, you would be 100% correct. Let's do one more. I'm not going to give you any clue this time. All I'm going to say is it has 4 colours of red, blue, green and yellow, and most people use them every single day. Have you got it? If you said Google, you would be spot on. So Google is something that we use on a daily basis, and their logo is simply the G with the red, blue, green and yellow colours, all working together, and they are instantly recognisable. When it comes to using colour theory for yourself, there are 4 different core principles that you need to keep in mind. Understanding them is paramount. Once you have, they will become very natural to use. The 4 principles are triadic, schematic, complementary and monochromatic. So first, if I show you this, the colour wheel. This is a colour theory colour wheel, and as you can see in the centre, there are 2 triangles which make up like a pentagram star. These are there for a reason. They are a guide. So when it comes to triadic, this is going to use one of those triangles to pick the colours. 3 colours will form a triangle on the colour wheel. For example, the primary colours of red, green and blue. But you could just as easily, looking at this colour wheel, do yellow, purple and blue. They will work just as well as anything else. Now normally you would use 2 of these as your base colours and maybe 1 as a highlight or an accent. Next would be schematic or colour schemes. Now these colour schemes are often used when it comes to landscape paintings. For example, I put in a colour scheme into AI and this is what it came up with. A beach scene using nothing but oranges, yellows, reds, and it gives that sunset kind of feel. So as you've just seen, the group within that AI picture was lots of warm colours like yellows, oranges and reds. But if we go back to the colour wheel, as you can see, I have got an example of using blue-green to dark blue and then violet blue. These are always the colours that are sat right next to each other on the colour wheel. So you give a small section and then use nothing but variations of them colours. Next would be complementary colours. Complementary are normally 2 opposing colours. As you can see on this little diagram, the 2 colours opposite each other will always work well together. Examples of this would be blue and orange, or green and purple. This method typically gives the most contrast while you're trying to use anything other than black, white or grey, which leads to the last principle, monochromatic. Monochromatic are simply all of the colours without any hue. What I mean by that is greys, blacks and whites. Again, if I was to give a monochromatic picture into AI, you'd get something that looks like this. Now I said monochromatic with a blue hint, and that's what it does. If you was to take a photo way back, then you would have what is called sepia tone. That is exactly the same as monochromatic, except it has an orange tint. These are the 4 core principles of colour theory. Now you might be like me. I could talk to you until I'm blue in the face about all of these different principles and how colour theory works. But unless I show you a demonstration of me putting it into practice, then you might not understand it. So let me give you that demonstration. And for that, we're going to need to go to, of course, Inkscape. Now as you can see on screen, I have Button Press Graphics, a text graphic that I have created. So I'm going to go through each one of the principles on this so I can show you the effect that it can have. So let's begin with triadic. Now you can choose any colours that you want, and obviously on a full colour wheel all of these colours would be blurred in together, so you get much of a gradual feel as you go around the circle. But now you just got to choose the colours that you want to use. Remember what I said? Normally there will be 2 base colours followed by a highlight. So first we're going to take the core text and we're going to use the dropper tool and come to this. That gives it a violet colour. Now we're going to go back to my select tool, and what I am doing here is I'm just pressing D to get onto my dropper tool and then pressing S to get back to my select tool. I'm going to select this back shadow text. Now with this colour what I'm going to use is the blue. And now we have something that looks like this. And as a final highlight, we could use the back, and then choose yellow. Now I don't think that looks too good, so I'm going to swap that one to the blue and this one to the yellow. And there you go. I think that looks way better. But there you go. That is a perfect example of how to use the triadic. Now, of course, you could add to this and you could make a few of these colors more of a gradient, and you could have it so it's not just bold, flat colors. Now you get the general idea of how triadic colors can make each one of the sections stand out and be more defined. Remember, these are three completely different colors, and yet each one contrasts perfectly with the other. The next one is going to be schematic, a color scheme. Now you could use all of the warm colors like the red, the yellows, the oranges, or you could use more nature orientated. That would be the greens. Or you could even go like we show right here and go for all of the blues. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go with all of these blues right here. Let me start with the back color. Now when it comes to this back color, I'd like it to be quite dark. I want it to be very contrasting in comparison to the letters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this blue right here, and then I'm going to use the lightest shade on this shadow one here behind the main lettering. And then on the lettering, of course, I'm going to be using this color right here. And now, as you can see, it all looks quite cohesive, and you've still got that slight bit of contrast. Finally, we're going to use complementary colors. Now, when it comes to complementary colors, this is going to be down to whichever two colors you choose. Now, of course, I've got three different parts, but this is where I can lean on the monochromatic. Instead of using three colors, I can use two colors, and then I can offset it by using white or black. So let's start with the top text, the one that I have selected right here. Now I'm going to go with one which is really good for contrast. I'm going to go with purple up here, but this time we're going to go directly opposite on the color wheel, and we're going to go green. So I'm going to move to the back layer. I'm going to change that to green. And now I'm going to take the middle layer right here, and this is where I'm going to go black or white. Now, as you can see, because these are quite light colors, if I go white, it's not really going to make much of a difference, but it will make it look more 80s style. However, if I go black, that gives it a lot more definition. There is one more step you can do to make that differentiating colors a little bit more intense. If I was to come to the text in this case, the top layer, I can add a stroke. Now, of course, that's a little bit too thick, so I'm going to go to my fill and stroke menu, and I'm going to go to my stroke style and turn the stroke right down. I'd like it to be thick, but not that thick. And just by doing something like that, we now have something that looks more like it's straight out of a comic book. So now I'm just going to show you, using the complementary colors of purple and green. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of polish. And I'm going to show you how using monochromatic in conjunction with the complementary color scheme can help to elevate this even more. Now I'm going to keep the green exactly as it is, but I'm going to take the purple and I'm going to go back to my fill, and I'm going to add a gradient. Now, of course, this is made half of the gradient transparent. We're going to go to that, turn the alpha bar all the way up, and we are going to darken it just a little bit. Now when I move this to the top and this handle to the bottom, we can tweak it as much as we want, and we can make it a little bit lighter on one side, darker on the other. And there we go, we now have it looking a little bit more dynamic. But what I went to the trouble of doing earlier on, before I started recording this video, is making a shadow and some highlights. So I'm just going to zoom out and zoom over here. Now, just to show you, all this is lots of little white shapes that I made previously to highlight each of the letters, and a copy of this green shape that I've turned black so I could highlight a shadow behind. So I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to slide them back to where they were to begin with. And now with that done, I'm going to deselect them all, select that back piece, and I'm going to add a little bit of a blur, turn the opacity down so it's not as harsh of a shadow. And there you go. Basic text transformed just by using the different principles of colour theory. Did you know that you can become a member of the Button Press Graphics YouTube channel? Well, now you do. You will get a lot of added benefits and you will directly support the channel, enabling me to make much better content in the future. Also, you can send in your artwork into the Creative Corner. This is a regular section where I will showcase your work in a future video. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell, and I will see you next time.